So, what do you do when you love somebody so much that is struggling with addiction? That's my story exactly. My family loved me so much. I have two older sisters, and my mother and my father all just did their best to support me to get sober. And um, it was a long journey for me. I'm not going to lie. When I was 19, was the first time I went to detox. And that was when I realized that I had a problem. Now, being 19, I guess that it seemed pretty normal that everybody just partied. So as a 19-year-old, I was always at the clubs and the pubs and all that stuff. So no matter how much I wanted to stay sober, really, it was very difficult to be sober in those situations. And I didn't go to any sort of support group. I didn't go to any 12-step programs early on. And I was in and out of detox centers. And, my family was really, really hopeful that I was going to get sober. And I did string months together over the years. But to me, it was being sober was probably the most uncomfortable feeling that I could feel, and I could only take that for so long before I would go back to alcohol and drugs, and it would take that uncomfortable feeling away, only to cause more wreckage later. But it just became so unbearable to be sober, and eventually I would just crack, and I would go back to the one thing that I knew that would take the pain away. And what do I mean by take the pain away? Well, there's so much guilt, so much anger, so much fear when you're an addict. Everything you do, every time you let your family down, your spirit dies a little bit more inside, and it becomes unbearable to be yourself, because I remember just feeling that I was absolutely worthless. And the only thing that would take that feeling away was drugs and alcohol. So how do you support someone that seems like they don't want to be supported? Well, as a family, it has become my mission to support families during this process, because it's going to be a long road. Even if that person in your life decides to get sober, the first few months of recovery is very uncomfortable, very uneasy, and there's a lot to deal with because of all that shame, that fear, that guilt is disconnecting me from who I am as an addict. And it takes a while to deal with all these things and to start to learn who I am again and to start to operate in society properly. So how can the family actually support someone? Well, the first thing that needs to happen is that whether you're an individual or you have family support, the healing process has to start with the family. There's a lot of wreckage that happens. There's a lot of fear, guilt, anger, and so if someone's trying to get sober or when they get sober, if the family hasn't learned how to support them in a healthy way, if they haven't done any work understanding what it is to be an addict and how it feels to be in recovery, they have to understand that. And the work has to start sooner than later. And understanding that what are your boundaries and how do you set them. I know that everybody falls into this, like, they just can't be around us anymore. But if the family can start to learn to support and prepare themselves for the recovery process when it happens, then the addict or alcoholic is going to have a much better success rate, if you will, having that love and that support that isn't fueled by fear and anger and worry. And if everybody's walking on eggshells all the time and they're trying to be sober, it's a very uncomfortable environment. Now, this person may not be able to be in your life right away, but the time's going to come where you have that family dinner and everybody's going to be worried if they're going to relapse or, take off into the bathroom. But what we have to understand is that we cannot as a family. We cannot control anything about that person. But what we can do, if we do the work, if we work on ourselves to recognize the fear and the anger that happens, and we can start to operate in a place of love and compassion, that energy behind love and compassion in an environment, when it's supported by a family unit, and it's a much better feeling, much more comfortable place for an addict. So this is my purpose now, is to guide the family. How do you create an environment that's supportive out of love and compassion? Well, first you have to understand what the addict's going through. That's the starting point. Second, understanding that it is a sickness. Now, we don't want to, doesn't mean that we have to put up with the actions that happen when you're dealing with an addict or an alcoholic. It's important to have boundaries that are set by love and compassion. Love and compassion for yourself and for the rest of your family and for them. If having them around all the time isn't helping, then maybe it's better just to have conversations over the phone for a while. But those conversations need to be not out of a place of fear or worry. It needs to come from a place of love and compassion, and just so that they constantly feel that they are loved and they are understood, and that when they're ready to be part of the family, that the family is prepared to welcome them, whatever that might look like at first or later. But the more love, compassion, and support that we can provide, the better the chance of a successful recovery. And, it's always my dream to have working with the family, and they are supporting the addict, whether they're recovered or not, and then have that addict have a full range of support as they start to recover. And so it's an extremely difficult situation, and I know it's hard, but if you just sit back in a state of worry and fear, resentment, not only is it helping you, or rather hurting you, but it's hurting the rest of the family unit. You're not able to operate the way you need to operate at work or within the family or even in society. So the idea is to get you back to a place of understanding, love, and compassion for yourself, so that you're supporting yourself, so that you have a daily routine where you can let go of control, you can let go of the anger, you can let go of the outcomes. Put this in the hands of something bigger than yourself, whether you call it God or the universe or spirit of the universe, higher self, but really holding a place and learning through prayer and meditation to start to visualize and start to understand what you want that family unit to be, and really attracting that love and compassion into the family. If you can learn to be in a place of calm and love, it's just going to really bring in a different way of living. And in my case, and many others, there's millions of people that have been through very, very dark, hard times, and it's driven them to work on themselves no matter what they've been through. I promise you that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and I want to be there to support and guide people through this process and show them that it is possible. So I hope that answers your question, and thank you for sending it to me, and I wish you all the best. If you have anything else that you want to ask me or talk to me, don't hesitate. Please reach out. Thank you. And if this has been useful, please comment or like below, just so that I can see that you're engaged. And if you want more answers or you have any questions, it gives me a good way to be able to answer those. So thanks for taking the time to watch this. I hope it helped.